today. My name is Choi, and today I'll be presenting to you about what my Magus is. Magus. It's not a very, it's not a word that you hear very frequently. To be completely honest, if it wasn't for TEDx, probably wouldn't have a clue of what this word means. So, after doing a myriad of research of this word, I was finally able to come up with a good understanding of this word. I define Magus as a Jesuit term that means the more. Now, I was pretty confused at first because when you replace the word Magus directly with its definition, the phrase, "What is your Magus?" soon becomes, "What is your the more?" So, it was really hard for me to wrap my brain around. But after asking myself out loud, what is the more, a couple of times, I was then able to get a good glimpse of what this word meant. So what is my Magus? The answer to this question has been engraved in my heart for quite some time now. And the answer is, and always has been, and it will always be, art. Now, when I ask people to define art, I usually get an answer that's quite simple, like something that looks cool. And I tell myself, fair enough. Because although the answer might seem very, very simple, it actually reveals quite a lot. It reveals that people are unconsciously aware of the fact that art is something that is visual. And to me, that is art. However, there's much more to it than that. It does interact with your visual senses, but there's so much meaning behind it. So then you would probably think, then how would you define art? Well, you see, I find the inner thoughts of a human being very, very important. Whether it is his or her emotions, thoughts, ideas, perspective, faith, whatever it is, the thoughts of a human being are very, very powerful and purposeful. And art is the bridge that links your personal thoughts to the visual reality of this world. There is nothing that can make your thoughts more distinctive than art, while keeping oneself entertained at the same time. With art, you can freely express yourself without any boundaries. Your ethnicity, nationality, race, social stance, none of those things matter. Art is truly universal. Each piece of art tells its own story, and through your piece of art, your thoughts become more accessible. You're essentially exposing your identity, your thoughts, your opinions, and infinite other things just by one piece of art. It's your thought that can bring a great change in other people's lives. Although completely conquering a mindset of others may be difficult, through your art, you'll be able to lead the audience to think and escape their own little box where they think. You'll be able to bring them outside of their own box, and that is great enough to create a spark in a group of people, a community, or even the whole world. With your art, you have the power to bring good to this world and reveal the truth. So Here's a piece of art I did just to portray how much meaning a piece of art can hold. Well, you can't really see very well, but so as you can instinctively decode, this art is about the dangers of smoking. I want you to take a good look of it right now, because I'll be asking you some questions afterwards. The person who inspired me to create this art was my grandfather, the heroic, invincible Superman who served as a major in the Korean War, who was the healthiest, the strongest, the manliest figure I've ever encountered in my whole life. Or at least, that's what appeared to be on the outside, before we figured out that he was diagnosed with colon cancer. He was a heavy smoker and started smoking since he was 17 for more than 55 years. Our whole family did worry about his health and tried to force him to stop smoking, but no one was able to. We've all thought that he was as healthy as a human could possibly be, failing to realize our eyes don't have the ability to see through anything that's going under the skin. I am certain that it was smoking that led to this outcome. And through my art, I decided to try to save lives of people by creating an awareness. That is why I decided not to identify a certain figure in the picture, because I wanted the audience, all of you, to be able to depict yourselves into the picture. The scene is made up with many different parts, but there are only two possible outcomes in this scenario. It's choosing to smoke, which leads to death, or choosing not to. Notice how I'm saying not smoking instead of saying quitting. Because when I say not smoking, it doesn't just apply to people who smoke, but it also applies to people who don't smoke. I don't want to just make smokers quit smoking, but I also want to prevent non-smokers from smoking as well. We've all have been tempted to smoke at least once in our lifetime for various reasons. To relieve stress, to attract females, to look intimidating, the list just goes on. However, people have the tendency to think that they are different from everyone else. Smokers usually say that they are aware of the fact that smoking is very unhealthy, but for some reason, they think that they are excluded from this fact. No one, I tell you, no one is going to start smoking knowing that they are going to be the one dead. That is why on the picture, I drew a layer of a layer of black line coated over the right hand. It portrays how smokers brainwash themselves and sugarcoat the fact that smoking is dangerous. Because they really want to smoke, they want to deny any negative effects of smoking. They want to get rid of everything that gets in the way of them from smoking, and the black line that's covering the hand does a great job showing how the individual is stuck in his own mindset. And as you can see in the picture, the right hand is getting attracted closer to the colorful background, which I use to portray temptation. The bright colors do a great job of showing attraction, and from the direction of where the hand is coming from, that is the only thing the smoker can see and feel, the desire to smoke. As the hand gets drawn closer and closer to what seems to be temporary paradise, the more the person loses himself to the addiction. I portray the addiction by drawing the part of the hand that is on the paper in rough texture, in black and white, because it makes the hand look inhibited. It exhibits that addiction makes people lose themselves, so they must stop as soon as possible before they lose full control. The color portion of the art shows that the person still has a bit of ability left to control him or herself left. Kind of portrays hope. Because the smoker feels the temporary satisfaction through smoking, they want more and more, getting addicted. I decided to reveal the temporary relief of the smoker by making the outlayer of the hand white, which shows clarity. When people smoke, they think that they can now clearly see and feel that everything has gotten better, but only for temporarily. To show that the clarity in thoughts are only short, I decided to cover up the layer of white with black to portray that after the truncated effects are over, things are going to be just as bad as it was 5 minutes ago. Also, as the hand is getting closer to the colorful background, it's also getting closer to death. Death is represented by the figure who is burning the lung along with the cigarette hidden behind the colorful fantasy. Because the smoker is so drawn only to achieving temporary satisfaction, he is failing to notice that he's also getting closer to death. The tentacles have always been the symbol for insidious, unhealthy attraction. Around the tentacles are skulls, which represent the ones who had fallen to death already, who are now in the dark world. As the smoker in death is burning out the lung, there are aspen trees that are growing from it as well. If you didn't know, aspen trees are plants that can't survive individually and must live in a pack because their roots are connected to one another. That is the reason why I decided to use aspen trees to figuratively symbolize family and the loved ones. And to emphasize the strong bond you may have to those people, I drew the veins of the lungs as the roots of the aspen trees. When you smoke, you're not the only person being affected here. You're also affecting the people that you love. You're harming their health with secondhand smoke. You're making them live in anxiety. And worst of all, you are forcing them to watch you yourself. You're forcing them to watch you slowly kill yourself. There are people who can't live without you in this world, and your health and life are part of theirs as well. Smoking is a selfish act that people do to reach self-satisfaction without thinking about others. Lastly, the left hand reveals the power you have to stop this entire crisis. You have the power to stop yourself from getting killed, hurting your loved ones, and living a healthy life. However, you must do it out of your own will. To show that you have the power to choose your own destiny, I drew a hand that is about to smash down death. However, breaking yourself out of an addiction is not as easy as it seems. It takes more than just desire. You need to put yourself into the act. You need to put the necessary effort needed, and you need the willpower to break yourself free. That is the reason why the half of the hand exhibits spirit and the thoughts showing not much power, and the other half of the hand exhibits the physical self being put to act. You need the willpower to bring yourself you need the willpower to bring your physical self to action, but the key point is, without being put to act, you can't break yourself free. Now, now that I'm done with my explanation, I want you to look back at the picture and tell me, does it look any different now? The answer could go both ways, yes and no. No, because the picture hasn't physically changed at all, but also yes, because you probably feel a little different about the picture now. Probably learned something new, that there are a lot of details in this picture that exhibits a lot of different reasons. To me, that's art, and that's my magic.